What would you brothers think about adding chapter-based abilities to the game? Dark Angels, you cannot be staggered. Blood Angels, you regenerate contested health for each kill you get. Space Wolves, if you have allied NPCs around you, you deal more damage. That's interesting. Ultramarines, your class ability regenerates faster. I like that. Raven Guard, your bullet spread is reduced. So far, the most boring one, I think. Imperial Fists, your armor regenerates at a faster rate. Oh, okay. Dude, that's pretty good. Salamanders, you take less damage from fire-based weapons. White Scars, your attack and reload speed is increased. Iron Hands, objectives complete at a faster rate if you are doing them. Dude, that is actually a great idea for a perk just for the game. I can see this being very useful. I mean, dude, you can consider Siege Mode for this also. And if you play a Successor chapter of one of those first founding chapters, you get that chapter's perk. Dude, okay, so Happy. Happy was in the comment section suggesting this. I hope this is his Reddit account, maybe. Unless somebody just straight up copy and pasted his comment and made a post out of that. That would be wild if that was the case, but I don't think that's the case. Yes, when I saw this comment, I was happy to see it because I think it was actually a really cool idea. This is definitely something I can see them implementing at one point. Now, the only concern I have for this is obviously pay to win. If you get the Dark Angels Bulwark champion skin, does it just come with the extra perk? Now, obviously, that is not what they are suggesting here. They're basically suggesting a full mechanic built around your chapter, which I think is a great idea. The only thing that kind of hinders it for this game specifically, I think, or at least this implementation of it, is just the fact that obviously it's built around being a battle barge of Space Marines. That's where the story takes place. However, if we're already wearing the chapter colors, I really don't see an issue of just an extra layer of perks, kind of, giving some suggestions here, like exactly if you play Blood Angels, you can get some HP, some health back on kill, which that would make everyone play Blood Angels, wouldn't it? But no, seriously, like when it comes to this idea, I think this is a very interesting idea. At first when I was reading it, that the only thing I was really concerned with was pay to win, and let's say the devs end up doing this. It would be kind of interesting to see how, like, hey, you get the Dark Angels champion skin, now it kind of comes with a buff. I don't think that's, obviously, I don't think that's the right way to do it. And I don't think they would do it that way if they did take this idea up. But still, what we are looking at right now, I think obviously some people would start to gravitate to some of these other chapters. I like this idea. I think this is a good idea if they would, if they could flesh it out and put it into like Space Marine 3 or something. This would definitely be cool. At the moment for this game, it would be pretty interesting to see them like try to pull something like this off. However, with the current structure of these perks, obviously some people are going to go to Blood Angels, Ultramarines. Iron Hands I still think is very useful. Getting objectives completed faster actually is a huge deal. That would be very helpful in operations and in siege mode. Salamanders, how many fire-based weapons are there? Is that just rubrics? Tyranids don't have any, do they? Imperial Fists, I like the idea of that also. But yeah, I think this is a great idea. I definitely think we obviously need to discuss how they could pull something like this off, or at the very least, if this is a good idea for Space Marine 3. I do think this could add some depth, into build making and creating a character. Actually being concerned with the chapter you pick based on the benefits would be pretty cool, but obviously this isn't the most balanced. At Raven Guard, your bullet spread is reduced. Kind of unfortunate for Raven Guard, but still, and obviously Blood Angels is very powerful for the current construction of the game, where health is a very valued resource. I can see a lot of people picking Blood Angels more so than they pick them now. But honestly, the idea is there. The idea is there. That's where we are going to discuss it. Let's go into the comments to see if anyone can flesh out any ideas on how this could, be implemented. As far as this being patched into the game, not 100% sure the devs are prepared for something like this. However, this is the first I've ever heard of anyone suggest chapter-based mechanics, which is something that, obviously the Space Marine games should have at one point. But it would be, it would definitely not be very, it wouldn't be important to the story of the game. Because even if we have certain chapters on right now, Strabon still is an ultramarine. You know what I mean? So we will see. We will see. But yeah, let's go into the comments. Let's see how people can flesh this out, because I think this is a great idea. It just needs a little bit of tuning, I think. I said something similar to this a while back. You choose the chapter you align with, but it doesn't lock you out of cosmetics, and you use abilities that are part of a small hotbar that are based on stratagems and detachments of that chapter. Blood Angels, for example, would get increased damage and defense and have a Bloodthirst passive that has a chance to activate on kills, but during this duration, you can hurt allies as a trade-off. Okay, now this is this is way more in depth. I like this. For the increased melee damage and your own defense. So a trade-off perk for Blood Angels sound pretty cool. Dude, yeah, see, this is exactly why I like this idea. Something like you actually have chapter-based mechanics that kind of say a lot about the chapter, you know? That's why I feel like obviously some of the perk ideas here are just, you know, quick. They're brainstormed. But like something for like, dude, unfortunately there's not any like sort of stealth mechanics. It would be kind of cool if we had some stealth mechanics. But hey, maybe that could be like a mechanic for Raven Guard or something, where enemies don't really react to them until the Raven Guard Ultramarine, the Raven Guard Space Marine, makes contact with them or something. I guess that's kind of just like camo, I guess, but still, ultimately, that's pretty much the road we would want to go down as far as like chapter-based mechanics. As far as like picking a chapter, getting buffs off of that, that's cool. I guess like obviously like picking up Dark Angels cosmetics, you'll get a Dark Angels buff. But to go as far to suggest that like you can get like a Bloodthirst passive that has a chance to activate on kills. That's like a full-blown perk rather than a passive trait to a chapter. That's cool. That is definitely cool. I like the way this idea can form to just create a whole new perk system. or a new mechanic. Dude, yeah, I like the idea of chapter-based mechanics 100%. Something chapter-based would be very, very cool for Space Marine 3. But now, as far as this game goes, I think in Space Marine 3, this would be to be completely honest, this would be one of the easiest ways to upgrade the operations leveling system, is to add another set of perks for your chapter, and basically you could level that up depending on how many operations you complete with those chapter colors. That would be cool. Having the game keep track of your chapter colors, also very good idea. But yeah, I mean, dude, as far as like what we could see from it in Space Marine 2, that's unlikely. I mean, like honestly, for Space Marine 2, the only thing that really popped in my head was, well, they might add some buffs to like some champion skins, right? That's pretty much what they could work with right now. But for Space Marine 3, I think chapter-based mechanics, as far as like a leveling system, that is a great idea. That is 100% a great idea, and I think the game, I won't say the game needs it, but I would like to see the game take a little bit of an upgrade within the leveling system, something more akin to Darktide. However, even within Darktide, you know, it can, for me at least, there's a lot there. So if it's just going to make more builds. If we had more options for perks, more leveling trees, more, just all of that. I think this is probably the best way to implement an upgrade to the current leveling system, would be to level up a chapter and have chapter-based mechanics. It's a fun idea, but it creates a meta, and meta destroys games in my opinion. Not only do you have players never touching specific things, but then you have devs trying to rebalance based on these stats and usually messing things up. I think this is 100% a warranted concern as far as like which chapters would actually be the best. Okay, this chapter is the best. Now everyone's this chapter, completely negating the customization of, chapter-based perks and everything like that. I get that. I just don't think it would. I don't think the devs, if they did do this, I don't think they've dropped the ball that hard. I mean, even in that case, we're not in a position where everyone's playing like the same class, you know what I mean? Normally, I see a very good, wide range of classes. It's always something different. I never go into Siege mode, it's always like Bulwark, Vanguard, Tactical, or something like that, Normally, I still see Assault players, Sniper players, I see a good mix in this game already. I don't think it would destroy it if there was a chapter that was just a little bit better than other chapters. I just think that they need to be unique enough to make sure that leveling through that tree wouldn't completely make everything else irrelevant. It would have to be, like, I do like the idea of having a chapter-based mechanic that is supposed to give you an advantage. However, yeah, giving a chapter something like healing and then the other chapter gets spread reduced, that's how that's exactly what this person is pretty much concerned about. Obviously, this is all, this is basically a theory. This is mechanic theory, game mechanic theory, I guess. I don't know. But still, I think it's 100% a worthy idea to think about. But yeah, as far as like what we were presented with as far as perks goes, obviously some stuff can be adjusted. But I do think like Blood Angels getting something Blood Angel related as far as damage goes, that's fine. Raven Guard can be like the same thing. Maybe get damage bonuses for enemies that aren't paying attention to you or something. Something like that. It would work within snipers. See, that's the thing. Some of these chapters should work better with certain classes that are supposed to be more aligned with those chapters. So maybe it's just essentially, I mean, this would be the laziest way to look at it. However, you could definitely just be like, okay, well, Bulwark is a Dark Angel, so let's just add perks that would be on Bulwark into the Dark Angel tree. That's probably like the laziest way you could implement that. But still, that in theory, that is the way you would make chapters unique from each other, is actually having already a set character to build around. But I would still like to see more customization than that. Obviously, if I wanted to be a heavy Dark Angel or a sniper Dark Angel, I would want the Dark Angel perks to work for both classes, obviously. I like this idea. I like this idea a lot. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I can kind of steamroll a little bit. So right now, we're just going to leave it there. There were some pretty good suggestions here. A lot of people were obviously pointing out the how strong Blood Angels would be. But yeah, and then there's a fair amount of comments talking about the actual state of the game and how complicated this would make it, probably. But as far as I'm concerned, for Space Marine 2, I feel like the only way the devs would be able to implement this is if chapter classes, or the chapter champions, the champion skins, if they showed up with like buffs or something. And obviously people would be kind of upset with that. So any sort of pay to win, I'm not okay with, at least for this game, even though ultimately, if people buy the season pass, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a huge pay to win guy. I'll say that much. But any sort of incentive to get something cool, I agree with. But it's like there's a fine line here. You know what I mean? And if there's a champion skin that gives somebody extra health, maybe I wouldn't really care. But if they got like a gene seed with a champion skin, that would be a little crazy. But like, yeah, imagine starting the game off with like a gene seed just because you have the Dark Angels Bulwark champion skin leveled up or something. I mean, I could see Dark Angels maybe getting a res or something like that if you leveled it up to like level 20 Dark Angel Bulwark, you know? But to start off, yeah, I think for Space Marine 2, this might not be the best timed, but for Space Marine 3, this is definitely something that could be considered like an alternative character tree to build your character off of. I like this idea. 100%. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys have any ideas for this. Let me know in the comments if you like this idea, or if you have a better way to put it into Space Marine 2. Sure, let me know in the comments. Again, this whole post, I hope Happy made this post, because Happy made this exact post in my comments section. So shout out to Happy. And yeah, this is a great idea. It's just obviously, it needs to have some more game theory going on. We need to theorize exactly how this would implement into the game. But for the most part, it's obviously just going to, not just going to be, but it's obviously better used as an alternative tree to level up. I would level it up probably winning operations with that chapter on, like with those chapter colors, and then you get points for that chapter and you get benefits off of that. I like that idea 100%. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.